stress. I do record all of these introductory sessions or follow-up sessions so that you can share them with anyone and everyone on your library staff as you desire. I generally get that sent out, either probably get it sent out late today or early tomorrow. And I'm also putting it on the Galileo training page. In our LibGuide for training as well. So I'm putting all the recorded sessions there also. So you'll have access to the recording for sure after the fact. Again, just made a funny a few minutes ago, but just wanted to go over a few housekeeping things. Just make sure that you do maintain the mute on your session during the session. I will give multiple opportunities for you all to ask questions or make comments using your microphone during the session. I'll take breaks several times. There's a lot of ground that we cover in terms of services that we've added and features that we've added. And I want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to ask good questions and make great comments about those new features and functions. So also feel free to use the chat at any point during the session to comment or to ask questions as well. Mike White from the Galileo team is here and is monitoring the chat for me, and will make sure that even if I'm out presenting and demoing, any questions that come across the chat come back to me and come back to me with context so that we'll know what was going on when that was asked. So let's see, got some noise again. Again, just reminding everyone to make sure that your microphone is muted. I also have the ability, I'm quite evil, to mute you if I so desire. Just make sure that your microphone is muted when you're not speaking up so that we're not getting external noise, barking, cats, HVAC, etc. All right, well, let me go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Going to go ahead and pop over into my shared session. If you all could let me know, and Mike, I think you're here, if you could let me know when you should have been seeing my slide presentation here. Everybody seeing that? Seeing it clearly? Mike, you with me? I'll check chat just to see. Thank you, Marie. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to go ahead and launch into the presentation here. And just our quick agenda, this is what we're going to cover. We're going to look briefly at some navigation improvements and improvements to the Galileo tour that we've done. And we're actually going to continue to up the game here with the tour and with some context-specific help context. And in Galileo, that's one of the things that we, as we were looking through, you often discover things at the last minute that you want to continue to work on. And the tour and other context-specific help improvements were some things that we want to continue to work on, but with some things, there are some things that we added to as well. We will now have what are called standalone bento pages. So previously, when you clicked on a bento item, if you clicked on, for example, the bento box for scholarly articles, it would open for you in a modal window. Now it opens for you in a new window, and that creates a lot more space to operate and navigate. And I will cover the navigation improvements that we've made there. The biggest achievement that I think we did during the time that we've been working since our last release was the fact that we have now added facets and filters in bento search pages. And I will go through several of the bentos and show you what the facets and filters look like, just because they can be slightly different in different areas. Primarily, they key off of the EBSCO Discovery Service filters, the same thing that you would see that when you're using the classic search, with the exception of some of the new bentos we've added. We've added a bento for the Civil Rights Digital Library, and most exciting, we've added a bento for the Digital Library of Georgia that you can make available. And for those bentos, instead of paralleling the EBSCO Discovery Service in terms of filters and facets, it parallels what is available in the Digital Library of Georgia or the Civil Rights Digital Library appropriately. We have added shareable permalinks for bento results or for bento searches. So in other words, if I am working at the reference desk and I get an email from a user, or I'm helping someone in virtual reference, and I find a really great result using the bento search, and I want to send that user that bento result, I can do that now on a bento by bento basis. Also, if, for example, I am a faculty member working on an assignment and I really, really want my students to focus in on primary documents, I can from Georgia, I can send them the Digital Library of Georgia bento search as a separate link that they can just link out to specifically that search. So I'll cover that in detail and how to access those permalinks in detail. And finally, we have, as I mentioned, new bento search content, and this includes the Digital Library of Georgia, the Civil Rights Digital Library, the Points of View Reference Center, and Learning Express or Prep Step are now available bentos, and they've been deployed in different ways for different Galileo subconsortia, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So before we launch into in-depth, I'm just gonna ask, are there any questions coming in so far about anything that we're going to cover, Mike, or any comments? I'm going to go ahead and check the chat one last time before I dig in deep. I see a yay from Kimberly Gunter, so I'm happy to see a yay. I will tell you that when I went in and used the bento filters for the first time, the first day that it was available to us here in Galileo and our Galileo staging sites, as a former reference librarian, I was absolutely giddy. So I'm hoping that you all will achieve some of the same giddiness that I have achieved in using this. I just feel like it's a lot of fun and very useful, and just adds a whole lot of power to the bento search. Have we achieved perfection yet? No. We will continue to work on and develop the bento search, but we have gotten it a lot better. I think you all will be very pleased with what's there. We'll ask again that if you all will please mute your microphone. I'm getting a lot of noise.
No, those are for adults. Let me print for her. I'm good. How are you? Yes.
Sorry about that, everyone. I just went ahead and did the 100% solution and muted everyone, and I may have to give you a mic back for you to speak up at any point, but I was having trouble tracking that down. So sorry about that, but let's go ahead. Let me go back to my sharing, and we'll get started with the actual demo here. So navigation improvements. I'm going to go ahead and share these with you live in Galileo. And I'm going to go ahead and move into Galileo and log in. Oh, great. Bear with me. I jot down my password and then I left. Got to get a quick password update for myself, and then I will be glad to get this started. Sorry about that. Silly. There it is. Okay. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop down to the password entry area. And I'm logging into the Galileo demo site. And I'm going to go ahead and share with you just a little bit about the navigation improvements that we've made, starting with the tour. First of all, the tour is now present in an additional place. The tour has an updated graphic, and you can engage the tour by just clicking on the tour button at the top. And it will drop down and gently tour a user through the Galileo features and functionality on the main page, giving some good context-specific help. I'm going to go ahead and just exit out of that, but you see it gives you a step-by-step tour of Galileo. And when I do a search, I'm going to go ahead and do a bento search. My search terms volcanoes and Ireland. And I'll go ahead and click search there. Note that the tour is also present now on the bento pages. So if I click on tour, it's going to give me context for the bento search and what it's looking at and what it's looking for there. So it's giving me a bento specific set of tour items now. and even highlighting the new Digital Library of Georgia bento. Tribute to the power of Digital Library of Georgia and how much great content they have. Actually, there is there are some images and other things of volcanoes and Iceland in the Digital Library of Georgia. So pretty cool that. So I've exited now the tour, but I just wanted to point out that we have now made that tour a little bit more wide-ranging, covers the bento better. Even within the bento link, I'm going to go ahead and open here. I'll open the scholarly articles bento. This will let me show you two things at once. I'll go ahead and open the scholarly articles bento, where you will see this is now opening in a new tab with new and improved navigation, which I'll highlight in a moment. But here even within the standalone bento box tab, I can click on tour and it explains what's happening here and what all the functionality is here, including the bento facets and filters that are now available, the permalink feature that I mentioned, and other things here. You go ahead and exit out of that. And again, we will continue to work to add on to and improve the tour, both to highlight new features and to give some context-specific help when a user wants to utilize Galileo for the first time. We're also going to work on being more contextual with our FAQs. Right now, our FAQs live in the support area and they can be searched, but we want to make sure where there's relevant FAQs, they're linked out, and we'll probably use the tour as a means to do that. So as you can see, the more that we do in Galileo, the more we sort of learn and the more we want to do in terms of improving the overall user experience and making it easier for users to learn about the complex environments that are required really to support research in Galileo. So that's just a quick look at some of the navigation improvements in the tour. You can see we've added tour info to all of the major Galileo search pages now. So the standalone bento pages, this is the next thing that we take away as a major highlight. And you saw me peek at that just for a moment as we launched in to the tour. But now from the bento results page, when you click on either the pill button or the header of the particular bento, that will now open in, again, just the terminology that we're using is the standalone bento page. I'm going to go ahead and just repeat my search here, volcanoes and Iceland, here in the bento search. And that opens up for me. Do note that the advanced search is still here and available. If I do this bento search and I hate the way the bento looks and I'm frustrated and I don't like what I'm dealing with, if I click on the advanced search here, this will go ahead and take me out to the standard EBSCO discovery search. And it goes ahead and takes me in. I am using a new version of EDS in this particular environment. This is the Galileo demo environment, but you will still see standard EBSCO discovery service for a while. We just set up that demo environment here. We also made sure that the full text limit is available whenever someone might want it, either when they're doing a bento search initially here on the main page, after they've done a bento search. And see, I get victimized by the barking dogs from time to time on days that I work at home. And we also have this ability to apply full text here. And finally, when I click on, I'm going to go ahead and log into here and see scholarly articles just to show you some of the things that you can do there. That full text limit is available here. You can apply it to your search right here in the bento standalone bento page as well. So some new navigation that we added to improve the overall user experience here in the bento page. Obviously when the new scholarly articles bento opens, it opens over that results page. But to go back to my previous bento results, I just click on the all bento results button here at the top and it takes me back to that. where I can choose another option. So now if I want to go to the news articles, I can go ahead and click on that, and it takes me into the news articles, and I can navigate back and forth to different bentos and have a nice clear look at what I'm seeing there. I mentioned again the carryover for the full text. If I can turn that off if I want and research. But I can also apply the classic search here is available to me in the bento. If I in this case, it will actually take my search terms with me and my limits. And this would include any of the facets that I've applied. I'll hold off on doing this classic search until I actually apply some of the facets in a few minutes, but it will carry this search over into the Galileo classic search now. One of the major desires people have had for the bento search, other than the facets, which we're going to get into in a minute, is the ability to at least have a soft sort in the same way that you have in the EBSCO Discovery Service, and that has now been added. There is now a sort by relevance, or I can sort by newest articles first. This is really particularly helpful, I think, in the news area, because it's getting me all the way up here for my volcanoes in Iceland search to an article from December 31st, 2022, and I'm seeing December articles right off the bat here. I can sort by oldest first, which may serve me well if I want to work in that way. So I can sort by oldest first. But the most common thing that we're going to do is by relevance, and the same relevance ranking is applied as is applied in the EBSCO Discovery Service. So if you put the results from limited to news articles in the EBSCO Discovery Service, it would look just the same in terms of ordering with the same sort by relevance applied. You see that currently I have the full text limit applied. We can, even though I am in news articles, I could choose to apply peer-reviewed journals. It may or may not result in reducing the total number of search results I have, but if something did come in as a news item, somehow piggybacking on a publication from a peer-reviewed publication, it would, and it's designated as such in the EBSCO Discovery Service, it would limit it in that way. I can limit to things that are in my library catalog only. We're probably going to go through and evaluate this one. This will be more relevant for those of you who have custom catalogs in Galileo, but it is still there currently. Publication date. This is the thing that people most wanted to be able to have and use in the bento environment. It was the first thing that people started to ask for. We noted that we wanted to, as much as we could, parallel the experience in the EBSCO Discovery Service and the classic search, which includes the ability to load past year, past 5 years, or past 10 years as quick and easy defaults. Or, of course, you can do a custom range. The numbers that you see in the custom range here come from the start and end dates that are available from articles that are filtered into this particular bento. So the start and end dates parallel the start and end dates of the articles themselves. So you will see different custom ranges depending on the content of the bento that you're in. I can limit by specific publication from within the bento box if I want. I can limit by a particular subject. And again, these are the EBSCO Discovery Service subjects. If it's available, I can limit by Lexile range. This is available also in the EBSCO Discovery Service Classic Search now, but we wanted to make sure that we surfaced it here in the bento search as well. I can limit by publisher. I can limit by language. I can limit by geography, and geography is sort of the origin geography of that particular article. It's hard to kind of put a hard fist onto exactly what this pulls from. It might pull from a geography tag in the article. It might pull from the location of publication in the article or book, but it is generally going to give you at least some information geographically about where this particular article comes from. And then finally, database. This can be really helpful to students if they're really looking to identify the database where they're finding the most and best content. Notice that all of these sort by most first by default. So this is particularly helpful in subject. I can actually change that. I can see more in any of these areas. I'm going to do more in subject here for an example, and this is going to give me the default numerical sort. But if I want to see an A to Z sort by subject here in any of these filters, I can just by going to the more and then switching it. We left the default numerical and subject and others just because we felt it made most sense to researchers to be able to sort and find things by subject that were going to be most relevant. And relevance is going to be the total number of hits, if you will. So that is the bento filtering, which I feel like we've done a really nice job with. And you see any limits that I apply, and again, I didn't wind up applying too many here. I'll apply a few more just so that we can see. Once I've applied a limit, you can see that it pulls that limit up to the top. And I'm going to go ahead and do a database limit. So I've applied multiple filters here, and it tells me what I've applied. And going back to what I said earlier, we have made some improvements on this so that when I take my search into the classic search, it's going to pull not only my basic search with me here once I've done a bento, it's also going to pull any filters that I've applied along with me. Now, this still doesn't look terribly elegant, but it does at least take that search with me so that I can repeat it here, and I can apply additional filters here if I so desire, if I need to, or if I'm just happier looking at things in the EBSCO Discovery Service environment. So those are just the basics of bento improvements we've made. This is a good point to stop and ask questions and get comments. So I'm going to actually stop sharing for a minute and come in so that I can see the chat and so that I can hear anyone as they speak up and focus in on any questions that you've had so far. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the chat. That is a really interesting question. Kim, did I get to your question on Lexile level? I wanted to offer a couple more qualifiers on that. I did show the Lexile limiter there in the bento search. Oh, and you said found it. Got it. We will continue to make improvements to that as EBSCO does and other vendors do. So I think you and I have actually had a conversation about this before, Kim, where this is here, it's great, but not every item in Galileo has that data, particularly the ebooks don't have that data. Sometimes they do, but they don't have it regularly accessed and indexed and identified in the search. So we're hoping that EBSCO will continue to add more of that data and make it make it surfaced as a searchable item, and then that Lexile search will continue to improve. But it is there, and it is there in the classic search as well. So Damien Battle asks, this is a great question. Will there be a link in future versions of the classic search to carry over search terms and filters to the new bento search? I honestly don't know, Damien. I don't want to say I doubt it. I guess my first reaction is to say I doubt it because that would involve some programming and development on the EBSCO sides, and that is a contained product. It is the EBSCO product. It is theirs. So the way that the bento works is we basically have free access to their index to manipulate, but I don't think it is going to ever work for us necessarily in the other direction. But there may be something that we can do and something that we can think about where we're in the classic search. I love the idea of being able to do it, and we could extract that and put it into the bento. I don't know that we can do that, but I think it's an excellent question and something for us to think about and perhaps communicate about with EBSCO to see if there's something that we might be able to do there. There may be a way that we can tunnel it through somehow and go in the other direction. I don't know that, but it's certainly worth the discussion. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that has the potential to be an interesting option if we could perhaps do it. Did I address that, Damien? And again, I apologize. It's a really good thought. I just hadn't really thought about it to now, and that's another reason we like doing these trainings, is you often have ideas that we haven't thought about. All right. And again, thank you, Damien. Great. Glad that addressed that for you. I will open up the floor again. If you'd like to use your microphone, feel free to you can offer a raised hand or in the reactions, or you can just open your mic and ask away. And I'll give it 30-second break here while you all might be typing away at or getting your microphone working. Um, please feel free just to open your mic and ask away if you so desire. And in another 30 seconds, if I don't hear from anybody, I'll go ahead and dig back in. Seeing a question from Kay Forrester. Kay, I'm going to make sure that you can use your microphone. You should be able to. Go ahead, Kay.
Hello. Okay, so I had a question about the advanced search versus the classic search. They seem to do the same thing, but they have two different names depending on what screen you're on. And I just wanted to know, is there a difference, or like is that just like a UI like word error?
So
Because
there's two things at play here, Kay, and I apologize. The advanced search is the same as the EBSCO discovery search, the same as the classic search. So let me give you some, and I apologize. It's very easy for us to get lost in terminology land here in the Galileo environment. So the EBSCO discovery search is the overarching search that we pay for that searches all or most of your Galileo content. When you come into Galileo, the EBSCO discovery search is what you see there on the main page. It is also known as the EBSCO discovery search, the Galileo search, and also now the classic search is what we define when you're searching in the EBSCO product itself. And this is a great question. Thank you for asking it, because others may be wondering the same thing, because I know we bounce around it a lot. Then the advanced search, there is an advanced search in the EBSCO discovery service that you can use. Oftentimes users really want to use that advanced search, so we've tried to make it so that it is quickly, easily, and readily available. But do note that you're searching the same index when you're searching in the advanced search. And then there's the bento search. Now, here's where it gets fun and wacky. You're searching the same content in the bento search. What we've done is EBSCO offers what is called an API that allows us to take in all of that index, manipulate it the way we want to, and create the bento search so that we can surface results in ways that are more advantageous to our users. But it is still the same information that we're searching through. Does that help to clarify or make it clear as mud?
Yes, that makes complete sense. Thank you.
No, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. Thank you for that. I just go right along with my terminology all the time, and I think you all should just follow right along, all right?
100%.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Any other questions before I dig back in? All right. I'm going to go ahead and thank you for that, Kay, and others, and Damien, and everyone who asked something. I'm going to go ahead and open up sharing again here. Dig back in. Where on earth? Just so you all know, I love Teams so very much, and because it's things are here 1 minute, gone the next. Okay, just let me know, please, if and you're welcome to pep up. I think you're going to be seeing my Galileo homepage again, but just want to make sure. Okay. Well, let's dig on back in. Just a little bit more ground to cover here in the 15 minutes that we have left. We talked a little bit about standalone bento pages. And again, just to be clear, you all will get these slides as well after the session today. We've talked about all of the different navigation things that you can apply here. And the next thing I want to talk about is permalinks. And one of the things we wanted to do and people asked us for was the ability to go into Galileo, run a bento search. I'm thinking of my daughter's, she's working on a poster presentation for 4-H right now on the space race. run in some search terms. So from here, I can go into the points of view reference center, for example. And let's say I was helping my daughter with this search. I was doing a Galileo search in her school, Oconee County Schools, and I want to share this search result with her. And so that she can look at it, look at the articles, look for any images in the search that might be helpful to her as she's working on her project. I'm satisfied with this search. It's great. And it's a good starting off point for her. So I'll go here to permalink. And if I click on permalink here, it offers me two options now. So the permalink at the very top is the permalink for this exact search. It is just going to give me, if I sent this to my daughter and she logged in with her Oconee County Galileo password after she opened it at home, she would get the exact same search and search results. It's a permanent link, but it is institution specific. We continue to work on, and this is something that has been asked for, non-institution specific permalinks. It's really complex and difficult to do that, but we're trying our best. Authentication always gets in our way and makes things difficult. But hopefully that's something that we can do in the future, is make some neutral authentication independent permalinks. So, but again, assuming that my daughter was at school right now, and I sent this to her and she was on, I was using Oconee County Schools and she was on an Oconee County computer, those results would just open up for her and she could use them right there on the page. So again, the context here is if I'm doing virtual reference or if I'm helping someone with a project and I want to send them the direct results of a particular bento search, I can do that. Now, you did note that there were two permalink options here and available for you. The second permalink option is just one to the points of view bento search. So this is just going to take me to this search page without any results defined or anything. It's just going to provide me with the option to do that search. And again, giving some context here for how one might want to use this. I'll just pop this into my browser here. So it's just going to take me to the search page. And on this search page, I can just run the points of view, a search in the points of view reference center. So, hey, maybe my daughter saw this and she has a good friend who is working on a project on voting rights, and she wants to see what's available in the points of view reference center because it was so helpful to my daughter Ella when she's standing here in front of me, by the way, just got home from school. And it's great to have kids for examples when you're doing Galileo research. So her friend Charlotte is now doing a project on voting rights and wants to see what's there and available. We can go ahead and search. And we're searching in that points of view reference center bento box now. So it is there, and you can have it as a standalone search. Now, the question that is going to come up with this, and I think we're already planning to begin working on this, is some of you may be familiar already and may have already integrated the Galileo embedded search box as well. This is not a pretty clean, neat embedded search box yet. It's just a link. Are you going to do bentos as an embedded search box? And I think the short answer to that question right now is yes. We want users to be able to embed these bento box searches into their search results as part of our next development phase. In all likelihood, we will be making that work. Really what we want to do with the embedded Galileo search box idea is we want to make it so that we have the ability to give you a place where you can build your own search boxes and perhaps even add some of your own content, some of your own images into those search boxes and not just have the default. You would just have basically what we were going to define as a search box generator that we can use to let you generate your own search boxes. So look for that to come in the not too distant future, but thought I would mention that in the context of the permalinks here. I think it's pretty cool that you can, as a faculty member, as an instructor, as a librarian, send a student, teacher, faculty member a direct link to a specific bento search, but it'll be even better if that can be embedded and show its usefulness a little bit more visually from the beginning. One other addition that we made here when as I talk about navigation, well, one more thought on permalinks first. I wanted to point out also with the permalinks that not only have we made them available there on the bento pages, we've also added them to your shareable links here in the tools area. So if I go down the page, there are now shareable links to bento search pages. And if I wanted to share, for example, the one for ebooks and put it on a page somewhere, I can just capture it right here, copy it, and put it on an ebook one as well. So they're available to you a couple different ways. And just in case you didn't see, I know I went fast on that, from the Galileo main page, slowly crawling down through here, in the tools area, embedding a Galileo search box is the one thing I showed, and then shareable links is the other one. Okay. And if you haven't noticed it before, we've also added things like shareable links to your homepage, shareable links to your A to Z database list, along with those new links to the bento search pages. One last navigation addition that we've made, and this was in response to users who were asking about it. Different people have different thoughts on how, and may even have different thoughts at different times on how they want their results lists to look in terms of how much space it takes up. I am currently in Galileo in the news articles, current historical bento, with the shorter condensed view for abstract supply. This is an icon that we added just right before we released. But I can also expand that. There may be times where I want to look through really fast and see titles and quick information. There may be times where I want to expand this and look through and see lengthier abstracts. And you may notice too, when you're doing Galileo search results, sometimes the abstract can be super long in terms of what's contained here. We've applied some limits generally, but we wanted to make it so that you could kind of see what you wanted to see here in a way that you wanted and have some control over that. And I wanted to add that this is an interesting feature because it's going to save whatever you last did. Unless you log out of Galileo completely and clear your cache and cookies, this functionality right now I have the condensed view. It's going to set the condensed view as a cookie. And when I come back and log into Galileo again, there's going to be a cookie in my browser that knows that I like and prefer the condensed view because that's what I used last time. So it will default to whatever you used last, but you can always make that change quickly and easily here at the top of the screen. And there was one other change that people ask for a lot that I want to make sure that you're aware that we did do this, though we did do it in a very subtle way. We plan to make improvements and continue to make improvements that will let you do it in improved ways. But do note, the last search I used was the bento search. It is going to save that as a cookie in my browser as well. It's going to remember, your browser will remember for you what search mode you used last. So if you have a preference and you're always in the classic search and you leave off from the classic search when you log out of Galileo or you close your Galileo window, when you come back again the next time, that's where you'll be. You'll be in the classic search. So it does remember. That's how we solve this problem. What search mode you used last, and in the bento search, in the bento search results, it's going to remember condensed or expanded for your abstract view, whichever you used last. Of course, you can always change either one of those, but wanted to point that out as those two related features there. So those are things that we're doing with bentos. The facets and filters we've covered in some detail at this point. The last couple things I want to share with you is the Digital Library of Georgia bento, which we've added now. Great credit to the development team and to the Digital Library of Georgia for working to add our great content from Digital Library of Georgia. This is the resource here in Georgia that provides lots of cultural information, cultural content, historical content, primary resource documents about Georgia and beyond, and also for adding the Civil Rights Digital Library as new bentos this year. So in the 4 minutes that we have left, I want to show a few of the new bentos. I'm going to go ahead and do Georgia and Aviation and History was a search I did recently. I'm going to search that and notice that the Digital Library of Georgia has 82,903 results on those search terms. And when images are available, this is another thing. We had a Digital Library of Georgia box before, but or a primary documents box before, but we didn't have these really nice thumbnail images in the content. Notice that also it tells you the type of document it is. There is this. We would love to apply this more across all the bento results, but there's so many material types that we need to really think about how we're going to do it in the EBSCO Discovery Service environment in the bento index. But you see that we can see this is obviously a picture, the rough and ready historical marker, and the Museum of Aviation, some other things related to aviation there as we look through the Digital Library of Georgia content. And again, just notice that the limiters on the left-hand side of the screen parallel those limiters that are available in the Digital Library of Georgia. So they are going to look different and act a little bit different than what you see in the EBSCO Discovery Service, because this is a direct connection to that Digital Library of Georgia search page. And notice that most of the other navigation is pretty much the same, including there is a direct link out to the search at Digital Library of Georgia site. So it'll take my search with me and redo it over in the Digital Library of Georgia page. Same results, same resource material, just a different way of connecting to it. So also, the Civil Rights Digital Library content is now added. This is the collection that is composed of libraries from content from libraries around the southeastern United States, with content specifically about the civil rights movement. Some wonderful things like oral history interviews, video content from WSB, all sorts of wonderful content on the civil rights movement available through the Civil Rights Digital Library. Note that this will actually take you out to a search at CRDL site if you want to go directly into the CRDL after searching it in the bento. We've added some others as well. The Points of View Reference Center is a new database that we added last year. Many of you in the K-12 environment have asked about adding SIRS issues researcher, which we have never been able to really afford again. But do note that Points of View Reference Center does some of the same types of things. I know we're at about a minute left, so bear with me. What's the controversial? Let's see, I did voting rights earlier. And the Points of View Reference Center content is surfaced here in the bento search. It's just the box labeled Points of View. Also, we have added content from if your technical college has Prep Step, if your K-12 library, high schoolers, and the Education View, you will have access to Prep Step and Learning Express content. So, for example, if I'm looking for SAT guides, I can search that, and it will take me to articles that are available for me, in this case, in Prep Step. If I click on Prep Step, it'll give me those articles available about SAT subject guides, in this case, come up as the default first. So just quickly wanted to cover those things, those new things that we've added, the new bentos. We're at time here. I want to make sure that there is time for any additional questions. In the PowerPoint presentation that I'll share with you, you will have access to any of this. For adding and updating any bentos, for those of you who have access to Galileo admin or have an administrator locally, you can obviously do this yourself and make changes yourself. If you need us to help you with any changes, or if you do not have an administrator at your site, let us know and we can work with you on adding any bentos to your site that aren't there already. And I want to thank you and give you an opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to go ahead and step out here of the presentation and see if there's anything else that's come up in the chat. And we'll go from there. Any questions? Any thoughts or feelings? Anything that you think we should continue to work on, or that we can? And I know there are things we're already thinking about, additional ways that we can improve access to the Galileo content through the bento search. Someone generated recently the idea potentially, obviously you can apply a subject limit now in the bento, but perhaps making some creating subject bentos for some contexts might be helpful. But we welcome any suggestions anytime that you all have. I hope this was a helpful overview for the content that we've added. Again, you'll get the recordings shortly. For anybody who needs to go right away, I know we're a minute over, please feel free to drop off. You will not hurt my feelings. But if you do have questions or comments and you would like to stick around for a minute, I will definitely stick around for a couple of minutes to address any questions. You're welcome to mic up if you'd like to ask a question via your microphone, or you're obviously welcome to use the chat. I'm here for you for the next couple of minutes. Again, thank you all. And again, hanging out for questions. Nice, thank you. Thank you all for hanging out and learning a little bit about the good work that the development team and the support team have been doing over the last few months. And we thank you all. You all give us great feedback, great ideas, share with us all kinds of neat things that you're doing that help to inform our processes.
Mr. Palmer, can you hear me?
Yes, I sure
All right.
can. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is Kim. So quick question. Under Galileo, the way I entered and into the bento box, it logs me in as a general user, which means that I no longer have access to my personal file folder within EBSCO. Is that something that y'all might be looking at adding some functionality there too?
Let me clarify that question. I'm
So
going to put. Go ahead.
no,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, let me see if I can reiterate. So when you log into Galileo,
Mm-hmm.
are you talking about what you see at the top of the screen?
Yeah, where it says welcome user.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, two things with that. Welcome user is a placeholder. For our academic institutions, you'll already see your name in most cases. This is something we're going to build on for personalization. And
Perfect.
longer term, as we introduce single sign-on, hopefully one of these years into K-12, you will begin to see that personalization option there. Of course, there's lots of questions we have to answer with that in terms of FERPA and DOE and other things, but we want to provide some level of personalization beyond just the EBSCO folders there. We want to, and we've already taken some baby steps toward personalization in Galileo. One of the things that we did during this development cycle but didn't release, we have created Galileo records for all the individual items in the EBSCO Discovery Service. And if we have our own records, we can manipulate those records and we can allow users to manipulate those records. So one of our next steps is to provide some means to save and re-access content in Galileo without having to worry about being logged into a vendor-specific site. So very excited about that idea, but that's what we're getting at with that welcome user piece. Now, if you are logged in as an academic user now, we have deployed through our single sign-on service a service called the EBSCO SSO, and it does log you in automatically to your EBSCO account if you're an academic user right now on Open Athens. That will hopefully come for K-12 and public libraries as well in time, but we haven't released that widely yet for a variety of safety, security, and age protocols reasons. So going on and on about that, but that has no tie at all just right now to your EBSCO account.
Well,
You can
it
still
did.
log in.
No, that
Yeah.
actually, it did answer my question. And that's
Okay.
kind of where I was going is that something you're thinking about? And it is,
Yeah.
and y'all are already working on it, and that you've answered it. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad I rambled through your answer. So great.
You got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? And if not, thank you all again so much for your time today. One more session on the 10th. Please share with your friends. Feel free to share the recording once I send that out to you all. Happy to have you all share that around, and look forward to seeing folks on the 10th. Take care and have a great rest of your day.